What if Max Verstappen gets banned? Christian Horner just confirmed Red Bull have a contingency plan, but oddly, they're desperate to avoid it. Later, we'll reveal the unexpected name in their backup lineup that caught even Mercedes off guard. It's June 2025, Montreal GP weekend, and Red Bull's title hopes hang by a thread. Verstappen entered the weekend at 11 penalty points, just one shy of the 12-point trigger for a one-race ban. Add another point in Montreal, and Verstappen could be sidelined at the Austrian GP, his home event. That's why Horner's comments aren't just talk. They're a warning bell for title contention, team morale, sponsor confidence, and the entire F1 ecosystem. Speaking to Sky F1, Horner said, "We want to desperately avoid Max missing a race. But should it happen, we've got enough drivers from our pool." He mentioned Esteban Ocon, Oliver Bearman, Liam Lawson, Isaac Hadjar. Even noted that Arvid Lindblad has a license, though Red Bull are cautious about disrupting his F2 program. So what led to these public statements now? At the Spanish GP, Verstappen collided with George Russell, earning 3 penalty points, pushing him perilously close to a ban. And Horner hasn't hesitated to admit, sporadic issues with the RB21, especially brake balance and understeer, have made each race more challenging than usual. Penalty points don't just sideline drivers. They send ripples through strategy, broadcast storytelling, junior driver pipelines, and hijack headlines on an Austrian home weekend. If Max misses home race, Red Bull isn't just managing a driver swap, they face a PR and momentum disaster. Curious about how Red Bull's driver market shapes up? And which names are secretly buzzing in the garage? Hit subscribe and ring the bell icon so you don't miss the next installment pulling back the curtain. Horner name-dropped several options. Liam Lawson stepped into RB21 briefly but struggled. Isaac Hadjar, promising, but Red Bull's sister team sees him as essential. Arvid Lindblad got a super license at just 17, but Red Bull want to shield him from the pressure. Plus, Esteban Ocon and Oliver Bearman are in the extended pool. Horner assured Max would race like always, no backing off, but still, the need for a contingency reveals cracks in their confidence. Imagine this. Verstappen absent from Austria a pivotal weekend just as the engine upgrade arrives. Would a backup driver deliver like Max? Pressure is not ideal when chasing titles. This comes amid a tougher RB21 than expected, with braking issues in Bahrain and consistently slipping pace. Horner has been public about needing quick solutions, and that vulnerability hits harder if Max is sitting out. A backup driver can't mask car weaknesses. Here's where we stand. Verstappen entered the season with 9 points, picked up 3 in Spain for the Russell collision, and now sits at 12. Tick over the limit. The equation is simple. 1 more penalty equals 1 race suspension, and the timing couldn't be worse. The next race is Austria, Red Bull's home turf, pop star weekend, sponsor-laden spotlight. Insider rumor, Red Bull are aggressively lobbying stewards in Montreal to avoid extra points, but the FIA remains resolute. Horner ticked off 5 names as possible stand-ins. Let's evaluate them. Esteban Ocon, experienced, Mercedes reserve, F1 fit, but team loyalty issues. Oliver Bearman, Red Bull Academy star, but only 1 FP1 outing with erratic feedback. Liam Lawson, backed on call-up, but struggled adapting to RB21 layout and braking quirks. Isaac Hadjar, unbeaten in F2, but principal team sees him as key long-term asset. Arvid Lindblad, 17-year-old F2 phenom, super license ready, but exposure risk is sky high. Each brings pros, but all lack that Verstappen X factor. Experience, car familiarity, championship grit. Stepping into the car for FP1 is one thing. Delivering in a real GP is another level. The RB21's issues with braking efficiency and corner exit stability demand consistency under pressure. If a backup driver is parachuted in last minute, can they quickly match the car's temperament? Or will Red Bull be juggling setup, strategy, and communications mid-weekend? Missing Austria isn't just missing a weekend, it's missing points. Last year, Sebastian Vettel scored 25 points in Austria. Imagine that haul slipped away mid-fight. It shifts momentum dramatically. Sergio Perez could become the lead driver. Ferrari and McLaren could close the gap. Red Bull sponsors might question title strategy. This isn't contingency, they're mitigating risk to hold the lead. Before moving any further, here's a question for you. Do you know? In which year did Max make his Formula One debut? Answer in comments to show your F1 craze. Now back to the story. Enjoying the strategy insight? Hit subscribe and stay on the team pit wall. Behind the scenes, RFIs and steward briefings are heating up. Reports suggest Red Bull reps are actively speaking with the FIA about incident interpretations, especially after the Spanish crash and other gray area moves. Meanwhile, Horner's public reassurance, saying the team desperately wants to avoid this, serves two purposes: voice of calm to sponsors and RB fans. Messaging for stewards. Yes, this is serious. Treat Max's lineage with caution. F1 history is littered with stand-ins. When pit for Ferrari in 2020, Giovinazzi scored a point. When Russell stepped in for Hamilton in Bahrain 2020, he scored a podium. But there are failures too, unlikely fits that drowned under RB car quirks. The difference? Familiarity, data alignment, and weekend preparedness. Red Bull's pool is strong on paper, but can they replicate Verstappen-level feedback in hours? Let's zoom in. Lawson spent a full day in the RB19 at Silverstone, struggled with rear-end instability. He admitted it was a learning curve. Bearman, on the other hand, simulated 50 laps in Montmello, but data showed inconsistent time at T2. Yet Red Bull's engineers rate Bearman highly, not least for maturity under pressure, but it's still a big leap from junior testing to real lap aggression. Austria is F1's most sponsor-laden weekend. Red Bull Energy Drink, Infinity Mobile, contracts assume Verstappen's presence. Red Bull uses the PGH Home Grand Prix as a global marketing centerpiece. Substituting a junior could upset ROI, affect sponsor exposure, and, more critically, broadcast ratings, so this contingency is not just a sporting plan, it's a corporate backup. In a bit, catch the sim crash data that forced RB to calibrate their criteria, and why one junior is considered high risk according to engineering logs. Here's the real kicker. Red Bull's simulator logs show Lindblad had 2 unsafe lockups in a virtual Austrian session, earning a red flag end. That risk could spell a no from safety chiefs. Conversely, Ocon's virtual Austrian stint had 0 incidents, making him safer, but his performance data trails Verstappen by seconds. A trade-off Red Bull must weigh: pace versus predictability. On the media mix line, Horner laughed off the backup talk. Don't want another team principal vacancy, but I'm not afraid to plug someone in. The line, "I'm not afraid," hinted at genuine readiness or deep anxiety. If you're intrigued by how lap data, simulator logs, and off-air quips shape the F1 headline ride, hit like, subscribe, and join the Fuel Up crew. These are the real pieces puzzle fans need to follow. Focus on Max's on-track behavior. Is he visibly easing in corners? Does he test brake limits aggressively? Watch FP3 closely. It's the last chance to pick up a point. Also, note the prop masters on standby. Look for junior driver helmets being prepped, even if they don't arrive pit lane. Red Bull's rivals are watching closely. Mercedes-led Toto Wolff commented midweek. Max is one-off, but F1 has always had backups. Some are better than others. Ferrari's team principal raised eyebrows but declined further comment, signaling political interest. Here's where it stands. Verstappen's penalty clock is ticking. Red Bull has a plan, but the plan isn't ideal. Backup drivers fill a slot, but they don't fill the gap of a reigning world champion. And for sponsors, fans, and team cohesion, ideally this scenario stays just contingency, not necessity. If you want to stay ahead of Red Bull's risk moves, subscribe now, hit the bell, and comment below. Which backup driver would you trust in Max's seat? Stay fueled up, race fans.